welcome to our third episode of Elevate and Educate Beyond the Harbour. So today's special guest is Miss Rajja Junaid Siddiqui, our school coordinator. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yes,
so
we
it's
have.
finally happening.
It's finally happening, and we finally got a chance to sit down and record this podcast, which is exciting.
Yeah. Okay, so I know about you, but I know our audience may not.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, yourself?
Okay, so I have an undergrad. I did my undergrad in psychology, and then I did my master's in clinical psychology. So just like you, I have loved the subject of psychology since I was in A-levels. So that's what got me started. I practiced for a couple of years, and then I found my way working into a school setting. So I worked at a private school for almost about 3 years as a college and career counselor / advisor. So I helped students sort of find their match universities in whichever regions they were going through, and help them, take the entire process forward. And then, COVID and everything, so I switched over. I came to Beaconhouse at the PCHS campus, and I was there as the career advisor, much like yourself. And I continued the same journey that I had at the other school. And then when I moved to Defense Campus, which was previously Harbour Front Campus at Bukhari, I was the school coordinator there, as I am here, and that's when I got a chance to switch over, work with students at a different capacity, and then we started our journey of the big move to Harbourfront campus here. It's been almost a year to us. We moved here in the 23rd of March, so a little bit over a year. Happy birthday to us. So that's the journey.
Yeah, awesome. So it's so interesting that, you did practice.
I did.
For a little bit with clients.
I did.
What was that like?
Much like, not like you expected in the movies, and I know you know that as well. There's no couch, there's no breakthrough on the first day, but it was very exciting. My area of expertise and sort of the age that I worked with was young adults, mainly students who were either coming into their A-levels or leaving their O-levels, and sort of, that transitionary couple of years. So I worked with students, of that age bracket, and taking them through, all of the things that they were encountering, all of their concerns and things that they were feeling, and maybe not knowing how to identify what it was. And, as we all do a little bit, feeling lost in, everything and all these decisions. So I work with those students a lot. And I think, I know we've spoken about this before, that's kind of when I realized that maybe if I worked in a school where all of these problems were sort of manifesting themselves and showing them when, subject selection. I mean, when I did my A-levels, I remember subject selection was so daunting.
God, yes.
We had this great big assembly, everybody sat down, and our head, she gave us all this information, and we had a paper, and it was just like a check mark to change your whole life.
I get it.
And at that time, you were like, oh, my friends are doing it, it's okay, it's gonna be fine. And then, A-levels was the same thing, great big assembly, check mark, everything is fine. But when I sort of got into my practicing for the couple of years that I did, I realized that it's not just a check mark. There's so much more that goes into, sort of being prepared for that check mark and understanding where you are. And, I know that it seems very easy to talk about, but you have to, for like a minute or two, align or think what your life will align like for the next couple of years. And it's tough at 16, 15, even 17, 18. It's really difficult to think that, I'm making this decision today, which is going to be the decision for the next couple of years.
Exactly,
And it was quite interesting when I worked in the school aspect of it, when I got to help students who were making this decision. I gave them the information that perhaps I didn't have, or maybe you didn't have when we were doing this a couple of years ago. But it was nice. It was a change in sort of the way we approach things. It was very refreshing, and that's how the journey went from, one-on-one clients to working in a school environment.
Oh, awesome. And I think you're right. It's such a volatile period, like A-levels, and also especially coming from O-levels, A-levels, because you're right. Like it's, you're looking at it, you're at the cusp of university, you're at the cusp of your career, and you're like, okay, if I don't pick a certain subject, or if I don't take a certain set of subjects, then I'm barred from doing this as a career path. because I won't meet the requirements for university.
Yes.
I won't be able to then get a job. So it's really daunting. It's really stressful.
Yes, it definitely is. It seems at that time when all of you and your friends and, you know, in some cases your cousins and your family members are going through the same thing, you think that if I don't take, for example, math, I know you've heard this very often because I heard it for many years, I'm limiting my options, my pathways will be closed, I can't do this, I can't do that, you know, and then I always tell the students to approach this with quality over quantity. You must not have taken a boatload of subjects where you don't perform as well as if you would have taken the requirement of the subjects that fit the aptitude that you possess and take them forward and see where it goes. I mean, obviously counseling plays a big part in this because we all grew up in households where, you know, if you're not a doctor or an engineer, or maybe now, I know it's really cool after watching so much Suits that if you're not a lawyer, like these three are the things that you need to aim for. If not these three, then you can just take, you know, any three subjects under the sun and you would be fine. And as a counselor, you know, it pains me to see, you know, families go through this where they tell their kid it's this or not, or, you know, there's no other option, or you don't have the opportunity to choose something else. And I think A-levels is very unique in that way because it offers like a more diverse set and range of subjects. And much like the process that we follow at this campus is that, you know, we let students sort of take the reins a little bit, figure out what they want to do. We obviously point them in the right direction, but, you know, being 17, 18 also means a little bit of independence. It's warranted. And they get to audit their classes. They get to have 2 weeks of taking multiple different classes and seeing whichever one works for them. And then obviously we always loop you in, or myself, or Sir Ayaz is always looped in, that, you know, if the student is thinking around the spectrum of, let's say, doing AI in university, there are some things that he or she should have. Right? And then there are a couple of things that he or she can experiment with. Which is what we're here for, to point you in the right direction. But we really pride ourselves, and I know you do as well, in helping the students sort of come to their own decision. Right?
It is, you know, like there's a lot of pressure from not just family, but also society as well. Like you need to be a certain way, you need to be successful in a certain way, you need to take a certain set of subjects or go into a certain career to be considered like, you know, productive, like a productive member of society. You're contributing, you're making money as well.
Especially that word, successful, because success is only measured till now. I think you and I see it very often. And I think anybody who works in any sort of educational institute can say and, you know, feel the same thing that we feel, that success is only measured by the number of A's or A stars that you have, or the grade point average that you have, or the tier of university you've landed yourself into, right? And I know that it's easy to just like look at it like a grade sheet, or like, you know, just the student and be like, oh yeah, he or she has all the makings to be on this, or is on the path of a successful journey. But then there's so many external variables that we don't account for. And there are many that, as, you know, a coordinator or a counselor, we look at them, and we can't look at a student in sort of just isolation. We have to put all of it together. The fact that you are going through A-levels, and there are many activities that will come your way, which add to the kind of person that you are, and opportunities that you should explore and to see who you are. So we have like community service options available, sports, you know, things where if you don't experiment now, when you get to university, you're kind of set in the ways that you're going to move forward. You know what you're going to do, and you just go and do them. And we want parents to think about these things, that, you know, yes, we do have this event coming up, or we definitely have this workshop or these series of workshops coming up that we want the student to take part in. And we can't think that admission into a good university or successfully getting it admitted into a university is just one isolated event. It's not.
No.
It's a series of, you know, working hard.
Like the steps you take.
Exactly. And I know that you know this, of course, with all the deadlines that students have to follow. With like the process of applications, it definitely is something that requires a lot more, you know, commitment so that the more commitment you put in, like I feel, this is something that I have learned over the years working with many students, the more committed a student is and the more effort they're putting in, the more successful they will be. And then you can measure success on whichever scale you feel necessary. But that's a successful student because they've taken themselves through the processes, the hurdles, the circumstances, the scenarios that are needed to sort of achieve the goal that they want, to whatever that goal is.
Yeah. And I mean, if we think about like students, their parents' generation, maybe our generation,
Yes.
things are so different now.
Very
like
different.
I think, you know, like if we were, when we were in the 90s, early 2000s, I don't think I could ever imagine life like it is now, you know, like the social
Yes.
media, like becoming an
Fast.
influencer, like making money that way, like all
Yeah.
you know, all sorts of like unconventional career options.
Yes.
You have
Which
now.
we never really thought of before,
Yeah.
nor did we ever factor them in when we have a student coming to us and they tell us that, you know, Miss, I want to be an influencer. We'd be like, okay, but what subjects will you take? No.
Yeah.
We have to, us ourselves as counselors and, you know, as administrators, we have to like learn and adapt as to the new upcoming things. Like we know that, you know, AI is the
Yeah,
thing right now.
yeah.
So we're not counseling students for AI tomorrow. We're counseling students for AI in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
What should you be looking at? Right now, maybe a doctor and engineer is where you want to be, but in 5 years, who's to say? Surgeries and or difficult projects that, you know, students of engineering look at will just not be completely taken over by AI to
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
limit the human interaction and
Yeah.
or, you know, problems in it.
Yeah.
We have to stay afloat with that. And I know the graduating class that we had this year, we had many students who were interested in being, you know, they're content creators and
Yeah.
students who were looking forward
Yeah.
to putting out like their image onto their platform and represent something and stand for something. And I would definitely say it's quite refreshing as an administrator to look at the new generation or, you know, trying to achieve something that is not doctor, an engineer, or an accountant,
like that
or a
set
lawyer.
life path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want to explore who they are and, you know, why they're put on this earth, and it's very interesting to see.
And I will say, like, I remember, I don't know when or where I heard this, but I remember someone saying to me that in the course of your lifetime, you will have like 5 to 6 different careers.
That's so true.
And I mean, if you are, you know, you're 16, 17, 18, 19 maybe, you won't know what the next,
Not at
30
all.
years of your life is going to be. Like, I think with me, if I talk about me personally, my journey is, I never thought that I would become a therapist. I never thought that I would work in education. In fact, I don't think I even had like a clear idea
Yeah.
of what I wanted to do. I just remember like being in high school, like it was very confusing. I was looking at other people. I was like, okay, they're doing business or they're doing
Yeah,
like this or that. Like
exactly.
maybe I should do business. And then, you know, the whole journey of like going into university, discovering myself, discovering my interests, my passions, what I'm actually good at.
Exactly.
Choosing that as a major and then graduating and then realizing, okay, now what do I want to do as a job? And then that trial and error, landing in education,
Exactly.
realizing over a period of time that, okay, I really like working with education. And then also realizing what more can I do? Because I
Yes.
really like that aspect of working
Exactly.
with people. That's how I landed in psychology. And I mean, I don't know what the next like 20, 30 years of
will
my
look
life will
like.
be like, but I mean, that's been my journey. And yeah, like I think if you think about that quote, like people will have 5 to 6.
Fortify, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, so that's why I say, like, you know, 5 to 6 different
Yeah,
careers. Like,
you're
you never know.
absolutely right. I definitely agree with
And
that.
I see it with our students
Yes.
as well. Like I see, you know, students who have a very specific career path in mind. Like, for example, there's one student who is definitely going into computer science.
Definitely, yes.
But then he's also interested in like creative writing.
And
He's-
art.
And art,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's just interesting to know or see that students are very clear or sure about their career path,
Yeah.
but they have such varied hobbies and interests, and you never know.
Multifaceted individuals.
Yeah, and you never know where that might take them.
Exactly. Like right now, they think that this is like the right path. I'm going to go into computer programming, but I sort of think art is a hobby. And then, you know, maybe a couple of years down the line, they think that, you know, maybe animation is for me. Maybe that's something that I want to do. And then maybe after a couple, and you should allow yourself to sort of grow with the career that you have and just not box yourself into it. That's what I think the main thing about Harbourfront, which I feel very like confident in saying, is that we let our students sort of tell us all the things that they want to do, and we don't tell them that no, this is what you cannot do and this is what you can do. We let them go forward with what they want to do, and we just sort of curb them in the direction where we feel that it'll harbor the growth that is necessary. You know, right? We've sort of today we've touched upon the internet and, you know, AI and all of these things coming in, and O levels and A levels, and the one thing that's like the constant denominator through all of this is growth. You must sort of harbor it and teach it and let the students foster it in within themselves, and this is a great campus for that. And you've heard from Sir Ayaz and Miss Saira now as well, that is something that we look forward to, pushing our students in the direction that you just don't pick one thing, pick many and see where it leads you, right? The opportunities are limitless.
Okay, great. I think that wraps up this episode. Thank you so much. I really loved our talk, actually. I think because it is like what I do, but anyway, thank you so much. And
I hope you guys learned something from this.
Hopefully.
And maybe we'll be back with a dynamic duo, maybe.
Let's see. I'll have you back for sure. And we have more episodes lined up, so looking forward to that. And thank you guys so much.
Bye.
And see you next time.